Hi, thanks for joining me. This is Angie at Chicken Scratch. This is the project we're making today. And this is my coaster calendar. I make these every single year, and the calendar is available now over on my website. It is a PDF that you print and you cut it. I have the instructions, and then we're going to cut it here in the video. So here are the 2 pages to print all 12 months. You can print them and use them as much as you'd like. So what we're going to do is cut the calendar first, and then we're going to actually make the coaster calendar. Okay, so I'm going to get out my trimmer here. Now I love using a guillotine. I think that's how you say it, trimmer, especially because I cut so much paper. So that's the trimmer I'm using. You might need to tweak your measurements or your cutting instructions just a tad, depending on how accurate your trimmer is. Here is the cutting instructions. Okay, so I'm going to lay it here so that I can follow it along, so that you guys can use that. So the first thing you're going to do is make sure your January and February are at the top, and you're going to cut that at 10 inches. Step number 2 is to turn it where the January and February are at the top, and you're going to cut it at 4 1/4. Then you're going to turn this sheet upside down. January's upside down, and you're going to cut that at 3 3/8. And I want to make sure that I'm at 3 3/8. And then I'm going to turn it right side up, and I'm going to cut that at 3 1/4. Okay, now that's our first sheet. So what we're going to do is slide January to the 2 3/4 and cut. So that's January. Then we're going to turn March over here, and we're going to make sure it lines up at 7 1/8 and trim. Turn it to 2 3/4 and cut. For May, we're going to make sure it's at 4 1/4 and then cut at 2 3/4. So here is 3 of those months. Now we're going to take the February one, and what we want to do is do the exact same thing. So we're going to place February up here at the top, and we're going to trim it down to 3 3/8. And then turn February upside down and place it at the 3 1/4 and trim. Now we're going to place February that direction and cut at 2 3/4. April's over here. We're going to make sure this is at 7 1/8 and then trim it to 2 3/4. For June, we're going to make sure it's at 4 1/4 and then cut it at 2 3/4. Now we're going to take the second set, which is July through December. We're going to place it here, cut it 10 inches, and then cut at 4 1/4. We're going to turn July upside down, cut at 3 3/8, and then 3 1/4. Turn July on its side, cut at 2 3/4. September's over here on the right side. We're going to make sure it's at 7 1/8 and then cut at 2 3/4. November on the right, it's going to be at 4 1/4 and then turn it and cut at 2 3/4. Now we're going to take August, right side up. We're going to cut this at 3 3/8. I just shifted that, and then turn it upside down and cut at 3 3/4. Place August to the left and cut at 2 3/4. Make sure October's on the right, cut at 7 1/8 and cut at 2 3/4. December's on the right, trim it to 4 1/4 and then 2 3/4. Okay, so now to hold this closed, whoops, come back here. I am using the bow paper clips. And, you know, in the past when I've made these, because I have made these for, gosh, I want to say 6 years, maybe longer, I used to use brads to hold these, the Crop-A-Dile to cut holes. None of those products we have in stock anymore. So anyway, I'm trying to make sure that I use current product. What I'm going to do is take this piece of crumb cake cardstock. It measures 3 3/8 by 2 7/8, and I'm just going to place it right on top of that piece. I only wanted a little bit to show through. And then I'm going to take this little bow clippy thing. Now if you still have brads and all that cool stuff, by all means watch one of my older videos, and you'd punch a hole in each side and use a brad to hold all of your calendar pieces, and that way they just rip out one piece. For this one, for them to remove, for your, whoever you give this to, they can just slide a month off, okay? Not too difficult. The only problem is that if this bow comes undone, then all the calendar pieces fall off, so we don't want that to happen. I'm going to take my liquid glue, and what I'm going to do is just make the front side of this. I did decorate the back side. I'll show you that in just a second. So I'm going to place that right on top. The liquid glue works perfect for this project. Okay, I'm going to take my scissors and just cut off that extra cardstock. And I don't know if I told you, this is the Candy Cane Lane Designer Series paper. That piece measures 4 by 4. The coasters are 4 by 4. Okay, the next item I'm using, we don't carry this anymore, but you can go to your beauty brands, the stores that sell nail files, and just buy a buffer. That's basically what it is. We used to have these in our catalog. They were called sand and blocks, but they're also nail buffers. Okay, that part's done. So here's my calendar. And what I'm going to do is attach it to the front just using dimensionals. These come off pretty easily, so if you wanted to peel this off and attach a different calendar at a later date, you could. Okay, so now I'm just going to peel the backing off of the dimensionals. Now we're going to make the reindeer again really quickly. Even though I already filmed a video on it, it is part of this project, so I could point you in that direction of the other video, but because it's so easy, I'm going to go ahead and make it again. Don't forget, head over to my website, leave a comment. I already have the kit ready for someone to make this project. Okay, so I'm going to stamp him in red first. And all I need is his nose, because we're going to cut that out. Now I'm going to clean this really quick with a baby wipe. I have that right here handy. Okay, next we're going to stamp him 2 times. And I'm going to stamp him upside down to use with the cookie cutter builder punch. Okay, now we're going to take the cookie cutter punch and cut that out. We're going to take our scissors to cut out the nose. Okay, so this piece was for the back. Whoever wins the kit will get that. Okay, so now we're going to take the glue dots and just add it to the binder clip. Whoops. Okay, so I'm just going to turn this upside down and add it just right there. See? And then we'll do the same thing on the back side. And then place that on there. Now, come back over here, and we're just going to clip them on. So here's the one we just made. Here's my original. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks a lot. Bye.